Welcome back to 5 Acres Honey Farm. I'm Tara Lynn, and I just want to take a moment just to do a really brief intro, mainly because I've had a tremendous number of new followers lately, lots of engagement, lots of comments, and I really appreciate the growing community. And with so many new subscribers and followers, however you want to describe folks, I wanted to share a little bit about my background. As some folks may already know, I am a beekeeper, so this channel does have a lot of content related to bees. And as you can tell from the title of this video is not about bees. It's about raising pigs, specifically Idaho Pasture Pigs. I just wrapped up my first 6 months raising Idaho Pasture Pigs. And I have some footage over the past week, which was their last week with us, that we'll jump into in just a moment. And I'll share a little bit about what this final week of their lives was like and what's been produced from that. So just a little bit about me. I've been keeping bees since 2017 and keeping pigs since 2023. So I actually had started keeping bees after getting chickens. So chickens are, as folks say, the gateway to homesteading, and I really feel that bees are the catalyst to my interest in growing a lot of our food, which does tie into the pigs a bit, because mainly started growing produce and vegetables for our family and also for the bees. I am originally from New York, which is where I grew up. And I've been in North Carolina for almost 17 years, and I live mainly full-time here just south of Chapel Hill in the not so small town anymore of Pittsboro. And I also split my time with my second apiary, which is out bordering Tennessee and western North Carolina in Robbinsville. And a lot of people will ask me, where is Robbinsville? And I'll say it's near Murphy. And they say, where's Murphy? And I'll say Bryson City, and then they don't know. And so basically it's west of Asheville, which is a little tagline for from an outdoor store out in that area. There is a lot more of the state west of Asheville for folks who live in North Carolina east of Asheville who don't realize that. So with that aside, I live here in Pittsboro, North Carolina mainly, and I live here with my husband, who is an engineer and machinist. And we have a puppy who's just over a year old. You may have seen him in some other videos, Indiana, and I'm actually training him to help me with my beekeeping. He's been a fantastic help so far with our chickens. I've got a little over 5 acres here, and we actually have some growing space out in the mountains, so we have about a little over 11 acres out there. And I have a fairly large in-ground garden here in Pittsboro, and a high tunnel. I have a pond garden and a peach orchard that's slowly growing, and then I have almost, I would say, about 10 heirloom apple trees. I have many videos about those apple trees and how to select them for this region, so I will link to those below. With all of those fun things aside, getting to the content for today, I'll jump into what this past week has looked like for the pigs.
Barney is a big fan of belly rubs, bum rubs, back rubs, ear scratches, everything. And he loves naps in the sun. Fred is much more of a loner, but he'll have a belly rub every once in a while. I'm just glad that the weather is really nice this week, and they're getting all the naps in the sunshine that they like, all the attention that they need, and in Fred's case, the attention he doesn't need. Super relaxed. This is Fred and Barney's last dinner. Just gave them their dinner, refilled their waters, gave them extra bedding, and it's a beautiful evening. It's a really just beautiful, feels like spring even though we're still in winter. When I started rotating them around the property, this is exactly where I wanted them to have their final paddock, because we were going to load them originally, but now this is where the processor will meet them. but looking out here, they have made their way across the whole property, so they had all that space.
When deciding how we wanted to process the pigs, I have an earlier video about attending a butchery workshop, which was originally going to be for processing a pig on a farm out in western North Carolina, but the weather that day wasn't cooperating, so instead we had processed 2 sheep, a ram and a ewe. I learned a lot that day, and I wasn't planning on processing these pigs myself, and after that workshop, I really understood, like, I wouldn't want to do it by myself, and all of the animal care is all of my responsibility here. So my husband, he'll help with infrastructure and things like that, but I knew that I wanted someone else to manage the processing, and we are really fortunate to have an animal welfare approved processor about an hour from our home here that I know multiple people have used and have really positive experiences with. A few things that concerned me about doing that: one, it's a lottery system, so you can't pick which day. I did submit to have a date. I did get a date confirmed, which aligned with where I wanted, but it's just a little inflexible in that. And the other downside is that with the processor, we would need to transport the pigs. So we'd be putting them through that stress, and we would need to modify our trailer, which was going to be an expense. It just felt like a lot of logistics, and if there was an option to be able to keep them here at home and have them processed, then I would much more prioritize that. The other downside with using the outside processor was that we would need to drop them off and they would be processed, and then about 2 weeks later, the processor will contact us and we need to pick up the meat immediately, or we would be charged a daily freezer rental fee. So that adds another layer of logistics because, like I mentioned, it's an hour away and we both work full time. So we would need to, drop what we're doing and go and get the meat. So making sure we're available for that. And in addition to jobs, we also have aging family care that we're, managing. So it would be much more beneficial for us to be able to just have everything at once. So fortunately, I found out through the farm where we got the pigs from, the Sarcastic Sow Farm in Carthage, about a mobile processor. So it's Homestead Custom Meats, and he has a trailer with all of his workspace and supplies, and he comes fully self-sufficient. I mean, he had all of his water on board, didn't even need to hook up to our hose, didn't need our electric, he brought a generator. We hired him, and he came, and I was able to be with the pigs when they were dispatched, which is what I wanted. I requested that. And then once he was processing them throughout the day, he would just text me and I would come out and bring the meat straight into the fridge and freezer and get it organized right away. So there was no delay in getting everything. And he, did all of his cleanup and left, and it was a fantastic positive experience. So to give you an idea, there is one bee box in there and some frames, but otherwise this entire cooler is full of meat from the pigs. And I've got ham hocks and leaf fat for lard making over here, lots of ribs in this area, all of the hams, Boston butts, some tenderloins on this side, pork chops all along the top. And then in the spare fridge, there are some cooler packs in here, so you can kind of ignore some of that stuff. But otherwise, it's all pork chops and ground beef. No, I'm sorry, not ground beef, ground pork. So I just put all the extras in here, so it'll be easy just to grab them. And then in here, see, I got this is my flour fridge, so I buy my flour in bulk. But I've also got, this is one pack of the pork belly doesn't have the curing powders on it. And then the other 2 packs, or did I do both? Maybe I did do both, okay. So I had him do 2 packs without the curing powders on it, and 2 with the curing powders. You can see the color difference. So from what he's explained, every day for the next 8 to 10 days, I just need to flip these over every day, and then I can either freeze them at that point or smoke them or just slice them up and cook them, however. I've also got the ears and the feet in here, which I'll be getting those dehydrated for Indy. And then I just picked out a few select pieces of things that I want to cook over the next week. So this tenderloin looks really beautiful. I think I grabbed like some ground pork because I'll make some meatballs, some pork chops, and I feel like there was another really beautiful piece of something down here. I don't remember what it was, but another thing that I want to cook over the next week. And yeah, this is a lot of great stuff, and I have a lot to cook now. Oh, I do have, what do I have put up here? This looked really nice. Boston butt. So yeah, I might do like a pulled pork with that too. I have to say, outside of the processing and all of that, just managing my emotions over the past week, there were definitely some things that surprised me. I was starting to miss the pigs prior to them being gone. And then like the day that they were gone, I didn't miss them. It was almost like I was using up that nostalgia in advance in a way. And the other thing was it came very quickly. Like I knew that the date was coming, and even a week before, I'm like, oh, it's a week away. And then suddenly I was like, this is their last dinner. Like, this is the last time I'm preparing their meal. What am I going to put in it? And like, and making those thoughtful decisions for them. And what I thought was really lovely was the morning that the processor came here, that like the pigs generally would sleep inside their little shelter. And I had noticed that morning, early, that they hadn't, and they were sleeping in fairly late. Like they weren't bothered by all the noise of, the processor getting set up, or usually if I'm walking by, they're coming over. And I did have to withhold a meal, 24 hours in advance. So they hadn't, eaten in a day. So I thought they would be much more interested in coming over to see if I had something for them to eat, but they were really relaxed and sleeping and just looked really peaceful. And we had really beautiful moonlight the night before, so they just slept under the moon on their last night, which I thought was really, really nice, and pretty much couldn't have asked for a better experience for them and also for me. They were really easy to manage over the last 6 months. There were so many times my mind would wander and I would worry about branches falling on their electric fence and grounding it out and having them run out, or what if a big branch fell and they could just walk right out of their paddock. That never happened. And I worried about predators. And a month ago, our neighbor got a bobcat on their trail cam. So those are like, I wasn't thinking about protecting them from bobcats when they were smaller. I was thinking about coyotes and even hawks when they were really small. But nothing bad happened. Like they stayed in their area the entire time they were here. We did run into a little bit of snafus with the electric fence. So the solar part of it, we couldn't really rely on all the time. So just as a preventative, we just kept it hardline plugged in pretty much the last 4 months or so, which worked out well because even with the leaves being off the trees, and I don't think they would have gotten as much solar charge as it would have needed from the sun. So that worked out fine. One thing that I thought was really interesting was that a friend of mine was texting me throughout the day while the pigs were getting processed and being an emotional support. And she asked me for 3 words that described my emotions. And it was a really nice exercise because there was nothing negative about it. I'm a little cringeworthy because of the culture around gratitude, but I truly felt so grateful all day. Like I was just grateful. Everything came to this moment. I was grateful for how things were, moving along for them. My other word was proud. I was just really glad to have stewarded their lives in the way that I did, and that they've had a really great stress-free life here and ate really well and had lots of naps in the sunshine, and really proud of the food that's been produced for our family. Other word that I gave her was satisfied. I don't feel like I've missed out on something from having this experience raising them. I don't feel like I should have done this, I should have done that, or this was the wrong breed for us, or anything like that. I really am so satisfied with the whole process, and it's almost in a way slightly not debilitating, but slightly discouraging to do it again, because would the next time be just as great as this? But you don't, it's kind of silly to have that mentality, but it's hard, because it's like, really, would I be able to duplicate this all over again? And I would be happy to. And I've been getting some questions about like, how much food did this produce, the cost and all that. I may at some point do a separate video breaking down the full cost, because I do myself, like as when I was, choosing this breed and choosing to raise our pigs, I was also watching videos about those topics to get an idea of the cost breakdown. But I will share the processing cost, at least, if folks are curious. I will not go into the nitty-gritty of the cost over the past 6 months, but the pigs topped out at their live weights at 175 and 155, which was really great. They were 8 months old, and we could have kept them another 2 months, and they probably would have topped out a little over 200. And just with what we have going on in our lives, and just the extra effort and care for the next 2 months, I feel like I'm totally, like I said, totally satisfied with how this all worked out, and I'm satisfied with what we've gotten out of it. The finished weights were 116 and 104. So we have, 220 pounds of food in the freezer right now. The mobile processor charges a processing fee, a slaughter fee, and also a mileage fee. And so he does live an hour away from us, so the mileage fee was a little bit larger by standards, but I feel like it was completely reasonable. His processing fee was $264, his slaughter fee was $130, and the mileage came out to be $105. So overall, it was $499 for his visit for the day. And to me, that's well worth it, because, like I said, he managed everything and did all the cleanup. He packaged everything, sealed everything, broke down all the animal parts and exactly, the cut list that I had requested. And I feel like I would have the same 3 words about the processing experience as I have about my entire experience raising the pigs. I'm super grateful and proud and satisfied. So I have considered over the past few months, I've read about other breeds, and there's another breed or two that I would be interested in raising at some point. But for our particular property, the Idaho Pasture Pig was perfect. It really was the perfect fit. In probably 2 years, that'll be about the time that all this food will be wrapping up through the freezer, and we'll be kind of working our way through it. That would be the time that I would potentially raise some more. So if we still are on this property, I would stick with the Idaho Pasture Pig. But if we happen to go somewhere else and we have some better fencing that's more permanent, that would allow easier rotation and less of a time effort for me for having to set up fences and rotate them every week or two, then I could consider some other breeds of pigs, particularly some heritage breeds that I'd be really interested in managing. Let me know if you're considering raising pigs, or if you have raised pigs and if you've had some positive or negative experiences. I know so many things could go wrong, and it just feels like I am really grateful that everything went right. So I will share more again, and thanks again to all the new followers, and look forward to hearing about your experiences.